The Fordow Uranium Enrichment Facility, located near the village of Fordow close to Qom, has been regarded as one of Iran's most secure and significant nuclear sites since it was revealed in 2009. Its underground structure and considerable depth make it nearly immune to conventional airstrikes. This has led analysts to question whether Israel has the capability to strike it, and if so, what scenarios might unfold. Construction of Fordow is believed to have started around 2006 and was officially revealed in 2009 through a report by the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA. The facility is buried around 80 to 90 meters deep under solid rock, about 20 miles or 32 kilometers south of Qom. Fordow has hosted around 3,000 centrifuges, with the ability to enrich uranium up to 60% purity, which is, pretty close to weapons grade. Iran also planned to install advanced IR-6 centrifuges, which can triple or even quintuple enrichment efficiency. As Iran's second-largest enrichment center, Fordow is considered a key asset that would allow rapid recovery of nuclear capabilities. Many experts believe that without destroying Fordow, any attempt to dismantle Iran's nuclear program is incomplete. Fordow is located under about 80 meters of hard rock next to a mountain, making it nearly invulnerable to even heavy bunker-busting bombs. Only ultra-heavy bombs such as the US-made GBU-57, also known as the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, might be capable of damaging parts of the underground tunnels, though even these may not be able to completely destroy the facility. So, Michael Laitman, who is the Israeli ambassador to the United States, told Fox News that, quote, all operations must include destruction of Fordow and that Israel aims to target it. But since Israel lacks both the aircraft and bombs needed for such a deep strike, experts are saying that any potential attack is really unlikely without US cooperation and the use of ultra-heavy ordnance. Robert Pape from the University of Chicago predicts, I expect Fordow to be targeted within the first hour of a US strike, simultaneously with Natanz. Without disabling these, airstrikes are meaningless. And Ray Takei from the Council on Foreign Relations points out, bombing Fordow would be only the beginning. Consequences, from terrorism to asymmetric retaliation, must be considered. Some analysts, suggest possible covert operations, such as sabotage at tunnel entrances, or maybe even the secret placement of explosives. The Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS, suggests that a potential joint US-Israel strike on Fordow may be imminent, but also notes that even if it's successful, it wouldn't determine the future of Iran's nuclear trajectory on its own. So let's talk about the potential consequences. An attack on Fordow could, really escalate regional tensions. Iran might respond with widespread missile and drone strikes, possibly targeting Israeli infrastructure and, US bases in the Persian Gulf. Another big risk is the collapse of nuclear diplomacy. Any military operation could basically derail ongoing diplomatic efforts, making it much less likely for Iran to return to negotiations. And even though Fordow is an enrichment facility and not a reactor, heavy bombing could still cause some environmental contamination. Although, honestly, it would be less than what you'd see at a place like the Arak heavy water reactor. Now, before we draw any conclusions, let's consider operational safety. If there's a military strike on the Fordow nuclear facility using ultra-heavy bunker-busting bombs, like the GBU-57, it's absolutely critical to maintain strict safety distances. This is essential to protect operational forces, aircraft, and of course any nearby civilians. Based on technical assessments, there are, some approximate zones that should be observed. The primary blast radius is about 1.5 to 2 kilometers. This is the area where the blast pressure and shock waves are strong enough to cause direct and severe damage to structures and people. Basically, no personnel or equipment should be present within this radius. So, in the fragmentation and debris zone, which extends about 2 to 3 kilometers, rock and debris from the collapse of tunnels and the surrounding terrain could actually be projected all the way out to this range. UAVs or helicopters operating within this zone would definitely be at high risk. Moving out to the secondary collapse and ground instability zone, which covers roughly 3 to 5 kilometers, ground deformation, rock fractures, and cave-ins may occur in this area. Ground troops and heavy vehicles really should not operate here without proper geological surveys and precautions in place. Now, looking at the radiological contamination zone, which stretches from 5 to 10 kilometers, if enriched uranium particles are released, airborne contamination could be dispersed by prevailing winds out to this distance. Civilian populations within this radius might need to be evacuated or follow shelter-in-place protocols. The extended caution zone, which stretches up to 15 kilometers, is recommended for long-term environmental monitoring and radiation surveillance. It's also the area where hazmat or emergency teams should be deployed to assess risks of soil, air, and water contamination. When we talk about destruction severity and its consequences, there's a lot to consider. Structurally, even if the central tunnels aren't, completely destroyed, entrances, support shafts, and vital systems like ventilation will almost certainly be disabled. This could disrupt operations for months or even years. Now, in terms of seismic effects, a GBU-57 detonation could trigger a localized seismic event, something like a 2 to 3 magnitude earthquake, and that might fracture the surrounding rock formations. If enriched uranium is released, environmental contamination could spread to soil, groundwater, and even agricultural zones, requiring long-term restrictions and cleanup. For human health, exposure to blast trauma or radioactive particles could result in burns, acute injuries, and unfortunately, increased long-term cancer risks. Thousands of people may need medical monitoring and ongoing public health support. So, let's try to calculate the odds, at least from a speculative and analytical standpoint. The probability of direct US military involvement in a strike on Fordow might be roughly estimated at 30 to 40%. This isn't based on any classified information, but rather on a strategic judgment that weighs several factors. The GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, which is capable of penetrating Fordow, is at this point only in US hands. Of course, a direct US strike would come with heavy political and regional costs, but if Iran appears to be crossing the nuclear weapon threshold, Washington may feel compelled to act. Right now, indirect support, like intelligence sharing, weapons provision, or airspace clearance, is more likely than open intervention. For a final assessment, it's important to remember that due to its depth and reinforced underground design, the Fordow facility is, nearly impossible to destroy without advanced US capabilities. If an attack does happen, it would probably be a joint US-Israeli operation involving high-precision weapons or even covert action. The main goal of such a strike would be to paralyze Iran's uranium enrichment capability, but the destruction of Fordow wouldn't actually end Iran's nuclear program. There could be severe regional consequences, including Iranian retaliation, escalation in the Gulf, proxy conflicts, and a collapse of diplomatic efforts. There's also the real risk of environmental damage and harm to civilians if radioactive material